Hey Astro Kids, and welcome back. This is your daily horoscope for May 1st, 2020. So here we have Mercury making a semi-sextile over to Chiron. Here in Aries, which is also making a semi-square over to Mars, which is in the last degrees of Aquarius. So Mars is getting ready to make its way into Pisces very shortly here. Here at 21 degrees, these last several degrees of Aquarius, where things become much more spiritual, much more metaphysical, as Mars is entering into this domain of Pisces. And so there's a lot of questions that are coming up. There's a lot of trying to find this deeper meaning, this deeper understanding, as Mars is getting closer and closer to entering into Pisces. And this is a very strange domain for Mars, as Mars is wanting to take action and wanting to take the initiative to get things done. And as it starts to enter into this space here of Pisces, we're going to see less of this active energy of taking charge and moving ahead. And especially as Mars is getting ready for this retrograde that we're going to see in September. So we're building up to this moment here where this is the last few moments here of taking action, taking initiative on what you want before this becomes more difficult, more challenging to pursue these things that we truly want and desire. And as Mars is here making this semi-square over to Chiron, this is a major moment of looking at what are the wounds, what are the fears in terms of taking action and going after what you want. Is there an issue of identity? Is there an issue here of these fears and attachments in terms of who you think you are or how you believe that you should present yourself to others in this moment? And so there's a lot of this fear around accomplishing and taking action towards the things that you truly desire here in this moment, as a lot of these fears and wounds and insecurities are coming up to the surface, especially with this Pluto retrograde. Once again, that is in a conjunction with Jupiter, so this is a big, expansive transformation process where we are going through the depths of our soul. We are facing these fears and these insecurities and these feelings that we are hiding from in this moment. This is an opportunity for you to change. This is an opportunity for you to face these deeper feelings so that you can release this and move forward past these emotional blocks and walls in your way here. And if you'd like to know more about Pluto retrograde, go ahead and check out the video on Pluto retrograde. I will leave a link down in the description as well as the comments. But with Chiron also making the semi-sextile over to Mercury, which is conjoined with the Sun and Uranus, once again, along with Lilith sitting here in Taurus, this is a major moment here of a lot coming to the surface as Mercury is joined by Uranus, it's joined by the Sun, it's joined by Lilith. There's a lot here that Mercury is trying to bring to your attention, trying to bring to the surface, paying attention to the messages and signs that are coming up in this moment about what are the steps that we need to take and what are the steps that we're going to take that are of value to us, that are of true worth in our lives. Remember, we talked about that square over to Saturn that Mercury is coming off of now, where this is a major moment of looking at, are you doing what is of true value and worth to you? Or are you basing your actions on society? Remember that Saturn is sitting in Aquarius, where this is a responsibility and a duty of humanity, of the collective. However, Saturn is also here creating restrictions and limitations on the collective. And there's something big here about finding your individuality, as Aquarius is about bringing together our differences and our unique ideas and opinions into a space of unity. And so the negative side, the shadow side here of Aquarius, is blending into society, blending in with everyone else, where we want to raise the vibration to this much more higher version of Aquarius, which is standing in your own originality and individuality here in humanity, here in the collective. And so this is a major test here with this square over to Saturn that is asking, are you going to blend along with the crowd and do what everyone else is doing in this moment? Or are you going to do what is truly of the highest value and worth to you in your life? So big questions that are coming up here with Mercury, which is tightly conjoined here with the Sun, Uranus, and Lilith, and now making this semi-sextile over to Chiron, where there are many wounds and many fears that are coming to the surface. And this is a test of, are we going to do the steps to move forward, to move out of this fear, out of this insecurity, of this ego attachment, of this identity, of this image that we believe that we should present. And so here, this is a moment, especially with Mercury conjoined with the Sun, this is a major moment of clarity, and Uranus here bringing through the breakthrough, bringing through the revelation that this is a moment of realizing your worth and your value. Especially as the moon is still sitting in Leo, and the Sun now making this square over to the moon in Leo, where this moon in Leo is wanting us to feel good. It's wanting us to feel pride and confidence and to express ourselves fully. There's a challenge here of, are we really going to do what feels good to us? Are we really going to do what is truly worthy and value to us? And this is the square from the Sun in Taurus over to the moon in Leo, where there's a conflict here where we're trying to hold ourselves back in terms of this self-worth. And the more that we are holding ourselves back from our self-worth, we are denying this moon in Leo that is trying to help us feel good, that is trying to help us express ourselves, to be positive, to be confident in who we are. And as it is making this opposition over to Mars and Aquarius, once again, the thing that is blocking us from this is the influence of society. Are we going to blend in, or are we going to stand out? So a lot that's coming to the surface here in terms of what choice, what direction are we going in? And we saw that with the Six of Swords yesterday, where this is a major moment of making a choice and taking these practical steps of where you need to go in order to move into the right direction that is of the highest value and worth for you in your life. And of course, that goes along with this Mercury and Taurus, which is all about taking the slow, practical steps that are logical, that get you to the results that you are seeking. And so a lot of work that needs to be done here. We do see Venus now building up to this exact square over to Neptune and Pisces. And this is where relationships become super complicated. We are seeing a lot of weird circumstances, a lot of people coming from the past, right? A lot of these illusions and these tests surrounding relationships. And there is something big to say here about, are you going to build something new in terms of relationships? Are you going to create something new? Or are we going back to the past with this Neptune and Pisces that is pulling us into, remember, Neptune sitting at those last degrees of Pisces is in chaos, it is in turmoil, right? Those last degrees of Pisces is dealing with self-destruction, it is dealing with illusions, it's dealing with deception, it's dealing with impulsiveness. And so are we pulling ourselves into our own detriment by creating these false stories around relationships? Are we going to move forward? Remember that this is Venus and Gemini, where it wants something fresh, it wants something new, it wants to be open to experience. And so this Venus and Gemini calling for us to be social, calling for us to have fun, calling for us to be open to being creative, being expressive, and to new experiences and new lessons. And so are you open at this moment? Or are you holding on to something in the past? Remember, we talked about this Pluto retrograde, which is at the lowest vibration, Pluto being about control. So are we trying to control the situation by holding on to something that is old, that no longer serves us, staying stuck in the past? Remember that this series in Pisces is asking us to let go, to surrender in this moment. And so there is a lot of internal work that needs to be done here as we're moving ahead, and a lot that is coming up about relationships as Venus is getting closer and closer to this point of stationing retrograde, right? We have Venus now at 19 degrees of Gemini, where it will station retrograde at 25 degrees. So we're getting closer and closer to this moment here. And of course, we're getting even closer to this moment of the nodes switching. On May 5th, we will see the North Node enter into Gemini, South Node in Sagittarius. And so we're leaving behind this North Node in Cancer, South Node in Capricorn, karmic story of building deeper connections and moving into what is emotionally fulfilling to us and away from these old structures and systems. And this lesson here is fading out as we are getting closer and closer to this nodal switch. And so keep in mind here that this North Node, as it enters into Gemini, will make a conjunction with Venus before she stations retrograde. And so Venus here is going along with this karmic story, this destiny of this new direction that we are being called to move into, which is about connection, is about relationships, right? This is North Node in Gemini, where this is about your connections within your environment. Remember that Gemini is dealing with familiar surroundings and close connections. And so this is a moment of communicating and connecting with those who are closest to you, to those who were within your environment. We're coming into this space now of this North Node in Gemini where we can't escape the present moment and what is going on within our environment. Remember that the opposite of Gemini is Sagittarius, where the South Node will be, where Sagittarius is dealing with travel and philosophy and these big, broad concepts and looking outside of our environment. Gemini bringing us back into our environment. And so with South Node in Sagittarius, we are leaving behind this escape to seek something that is outside of ourselves. This is pulling us back into our environment, where this is a major moment of focusing on connecting and building relationships. And if you'd like to know more about the North Node in Gemini, South Node in Sagittarius, go ahead and check out the video. I will leave a link down in the description as well as the comments. But this is a major moment here of what is your self-worth? What are your values? Are you going to make a choice that is of the highest value to you in your life? Or are you going to follow along with everyone else? Are you going to build these connections, as we're dealing a lot here with relationships? Or are we going to try to escape this and seek something that is outside of our environment? And with the South Node in Sagittarius, there is something big about not being able to run anymore. This South Node in Sagittarius becoming our new reality, where there is a limit and a restriction on this sense of freedom and this sense of running away and seeking something that is outside of ourselves. So there's a lot going on here, and we are going to continue to experience a lot here as we enter into this retrograde season that is building. And so we're going to see Jupiter station retrograde. We're going to see Saturn station retrograde. We're going to see Venus station retrograde. We're going to see Neptune station retrograde. And of course, we're going to see Mars station retrograde in September, along with these eclipse seasons that are coming starting in June. So there is a lot that is coming up here. We are entering into this very intense zone of making some difficult choices and facing ourselves and doing a lot of inner work here. So there's a lot that is coming here, and there's a big question of whether you are ready with this Mercury and Taurus, which is here to say that these are the steps that need to be taken in order to get to what is of the highest value and worth in your life. And remember that with Uranus here in Taurus, where we find this security and this value and worth is different from what it was before. Uranus is here to bring in radical changes and shifts to elevate us. And so this is changing our values and our security. And so where are you going to find this new worth and value and security that is the true foundation that is of the highest value and worth to you in your life? And I pulled some cards. So the first card we have here is the 6th house in reverse. And so many of us are trying to distract ourselves from what we know we need to focus on at this time. 6th house. This is all about routine and responsibilities and health and jobs. And so at this moment, are we actually serving ourselves? Are we actually working on what we need to work on in this space? Or are we avoiding? There's a lot of avoidance that is coming through here for the collective. A lot of trying to distract ourselves from what actually needs to be done here. And with this Pluto retrograde, there's a lot of deep inner work that needs to be done here. And so are we going to run away from this, or are we doing what is necessary? Next card, the challenge here is this Three of Swords, where we are trying to avoid the pain. We're trying to avoid these deeper emotions and fears and trauma and pain that this Pluto retrograde is trying to ask us to purge and let go of. And remember that this full moon in Scorpio that is coming up here on the 7th is a major moment of purging and facing the inner depths of your feelings. And so if you're not willing to let go, Three of Swords, of this heartbreak, of this sorrow, of this pain, of these fears, of these insecurities, of these doubts, then this is a major moment where this is going to be very difficult going through this Scorpio full moon, as this full moon will be a major moment of bringing up the depths of our soul, bringing up the skeletons in the closet. This is a major moment of facing the inner darkness, the inner fears, as Scorpio will bring all of this to the surface in this full moon. And so with the full moon in Scorpio, major time of asking you to face yourself and to go through this major transformation, especially as the ruler of Scorpio, Pluto, is currently in retrograde. And if you'd like to know more about the Scorpio full moon, go ahead and check out the video. I will also leave a link down in the description and the comments. Last card here. The Star in reverse, and we saw this yesterday, where this is a major moment of rejecting your self-worth, rejecting who you are. And so if we're not willing to do the work to face these inner feelings that we are escaping from, Three of Swords in reverse, then we cannot shine to our fullest potential here with the Star. We cannot fully be who we are. So a lot of work here that needs to be done. And that was your horoscope for May 1st, 2020. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this, feel free to leave a like as well as a comment. If you are new to this channel, don't forget to hit the subscribe button as well as the notification bell. If you'd like to share some spiritual wisdom, motivational advice, or positivity, feel free to join the group Astro Metaphysical Love and Light on Facebook. I want to thank you all once again so much for joining. I hope you all have a great day, and I will see you in the next video.